Yay Networks.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Spill the Beans podcast.
You guys, I know, first of all, elephant in the room. Well, little tiny baby elephant. We have our princess here. But second off, we literally said, when we come back, we're going to be in our studio, blah, blah, blah. And we failed to remember that I'm in cuarentena. So I literally cannot leave the house unless I have to, like, absolutely. So you get this set up for a little bit. But we have things coming in the mail for the studio, guys. Just wait. It'll be amazing.
Yeah, guys, I bet you're excited to see Blanca back on here. I'll see everyone, but I really thought I was going to have to whip out some podcasts by myself. But Miss Trooper over here, Blanca, is phenomenal. She's already going up and down the stairs, already working. And she's like, "¿Cuál is 2 weeks off?" So we got her back already.
Yeah, I think that this time around recovery has been a lot easier on me. Maybe because my body already knows what it's doing. But yeah, I honestly feel great. So I was like, might as well. And I'm also really excited to share my birth story.
Yeah. And also on top of that, the cherry on top, our baby girl is amazing, guys. She lets us work. She lets us eat. She lets us do whatever. So that's why we're comfortable enough to start this podcast with her on here.
Yep. So as many of you already know, we've already shared her on all of our other channels on Instagram and TikTok and stuff. But here we have Miss Belén Flores. Oh,
we're like actually nervous because this is Monday, right? Her name reveal. We haven't even filmed her name reveal, but it's going to go up on Wednesday, and this is going up on Friday. So it's so weird that we're saying her name
out loud.
Out loud.
Yeah.
When we haven't even filmed the name reveal.
Mm-hmm. So nobody knows what her name is until like at this point, but when you guys are watching this, you would have already known. This is Belén Flores Soto. She got my last name too. So we'll all have the same last name. Except you, honey. Are you gonna get my last name or no?
Wait, you're getting my last name?
Yeah, I'm gonna change my last name when everything is done and went through with immigration.
Oh,
I can't do it right now because.
Oh wow, honey, you don't have to.
I have to because how am I gonna show up to school and they're like, "Are you there, mom?" They're gonna see my ID like, "Oh, okay, Flores Soto," you know.
But then they're gonna think we're cousins or siblings.
No. But anyways, guys, we can't say enough how much of an angel she is. She's just amazing. And I was telling Jonathan that I think that God works in funny ways because he was probably hearing us talk about how we don't think we want another kid. Ya tenemos la parejita. We're set with our 2 babies. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to send them a really good baby so that they can have one more. Because maybe he's already, you're funny. Like I already have 3 kids planned for you or 4 kids.
4 or 5 or 6.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I look at her and although my birth story was a little bit more traumatizing this time, I'm like, I could have 3 more of these.
She's perfect. And the only reason I'm not holding her is because I got home from the gym and I did cardio, so I'm sweating and stuff like that. But I really wanted to wear the OG not even the OG. This is the second design.
Yeah, the second.
But the Spill the Beans mini cows, because just in honor of like coming back to life again. But yeah, I wish I could be holding her right now, guys. She is amazing. But without further ado, I'm gonna let Blanca get into it because this story is crazy.
You guys, this is my birth story. I uploaded my labor and delivery vlog and I think that it was a really good video. It was just not able to capture the entire emotion of things because although I looked like I struggled, but you guys don't know how much I struggled because we weren't able to record all of it. We actually have all of it on audio because you turned the camera on and you couldn't see anything, but you could hear everything. So I'm like, oh my God, I literally like everything that I remember, you caught on camera and I was listening to it. I was like, no, this is literally what happened. I thought, I don't know, I went into shock or something, but she's literally falling asleep. She's perfect. So yeah, guys. And the reason we wanted to do it on the podcast is because this time around, Jonathan was so involved, which was crazy for me because for Franco's, he was like in a state of shock. He was trying to be super supportive, but I don't think I heard a word come out of his mouth. Right ways. Yeah, and him and my mom were wearing masks, so I couldn't really see your emotion. You know, the video, you can't really tell. It was more centered around me. And this time around, like, you were on it, you know, like, super involved. And so, yeah, that's why we wanted to talk about it together on the podcast.
She sounds like a pug.
Yeah, she wants to say some things. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna skip over like the first half of my day because I recorded all of that. It was super chill. I think that this labor and delivery was so calm. I actually got to experience my water breaking for the first time, and it was so unreal and so cool, honestly. And I think that with that, I didn't get contractions right away, and you don't get them back to back right away. So my water broke 6:30 a.m. We got to the hospital at 8 a.m. and I started getting contractions like 10 to 12 minutes apart. They were super, I wouldn't say they were light, but like I could definitely tell there were contractions. And it was just, really calm. Jonathan ordered us bagels. We were eating bagels. I was drinking apple juice. I was, chilling. I was so calm from 8 a.m. to like 12:30 p.m. until they started getting like close together. And at around 12:30, I have a blurry memory of like the times, but around that time they started getting more close together and stronger. And my nurse at this point, she was so nice. I wish we could have caught her on camera because my nurse last time was so nice too. But she was so kind, and she was like, hey, like, if you need my support, I'll be in the room. If you don't, I'll be out there. Just call me when you need me. And it was nice because at that time, like I had Jonathan and my mom, so they were just helping me through all the contractions. And I remember her saying like, just call me when you need me. And she would come in and check on her heart rate all the time. They had to make sure that her heart rate was good before, during, and after a contraction. So that was really nice because they can't really check you that much down there just because they can risk an infection if your water has already ruptured. So it was super, super calm until it wasn't, until I started getting really hard ones. And so at around 12:30, I was like, okay, like these are really hard. I want to get my first cervical check. So she comes in, she's like, okay, like let's go. And I think it's so funny because I actually asked her, I was like, hey, how do you guys even check like the centimeters of cervix? She's like, well, it really just depends on the person that checks you, but they basically put their hand in and their fingers and they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. And I'm like, what the heck? That was so crazy. So I literally felt, because she showed me how they did it, I felt it when she went in there to check me. She was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. She's like, you're at a 7. And I was like, oh, God bless. Like, that was the best news. I was like, girl, from 7 to 10, I'm going to have this baby in an hour. It's going to be so fast, so easy. And boy, was I in for a surprise. It was really, really hard for me because at that point, when she said you're at 7 centimeters, we just have a little bit more to go, I was really encouraged. I was really positive. I was like, okay, I can get through some contractions. It's going to be fine. And she just told me, she's like, okay, when you get the need to go to the restroom and you cannot hold it, call me so I can come back in and check you and see if you're ready to push. Cool. She goes away. I start doing like walking. I remember my other nurse had told me to raise the bed and then try doing cat cows on the bed, like with my with my elbows on the bed. I couldn't even do cat cows because of the pressure that I felt. And Jonathan and my mom were massaging me. Like, it was really starting to get tough for me because contractions are just like, if you've experienced them, you know they're freaking crazy. And there was a point where I caught it on the video. I like start getting a really strong contraction. I tell Jonathan, go call the nurse. And then I'm like screaming, like crying to my mom, like, I can't do this. Like, it was really, really hard. And so the nurse comes in, she's like, okay, like, let's check you again. And she's like, you're at a 9.5. Like, I still feel some cervix. And I was like, and I think that's when I got really discouraged, and I was like, what, how, like, why am I at 9.5? This feels like a 10 already. Like, I need to start pushing. And so she's like, just hold off for a little bit more. They started telling me or giving me tips on how to get her to come down and how to get my cervix to open up fully. So they started having me squat on the bed with like a squat rail. And I think that one was when I started getting really hard ones, because that's when I was kind of going crazy. And it's so funny because it's funny now, but one, if I had caught it on camera, I wouldn't have put it on the video because that's kind of traumatizing. And two, I think that if I would have seen myself like that, I would have cringed really hard because now that I think about it, I know that if I was in a better headspace, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have let the contractions take over me the way that I did. But since I was in such a negative headspace, I was so discouraged. I was literally like I remember looking at my nurse and making eye contact with her, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And she's like, you're doing it. Like, what are we gonna do? And there was even a point where Jonathan like looked at me. He's like, babe, you have no one to prove yourself to. Like, just get the epidural if you want it. And I looked at him. I was like, I can't even sit still for an epidural. Like, I'm at a 9.5. They don't offer it after like 7 centimeters probably. And it was rough. Do you want to tell them?
I just wanted to say that it's so funny that I quit first and I'm not even going through an ounce of pain. Yo me rajé primero for her, because yeah, it's really discouraging. Like, you have such big pains and then they come in the second time. They're like, no, you're still at a 9. So I was like, babe, you already, like, in my head, I'm like, you already did a natural birth. Like, who are you trying to look cool for? Like, who are you, like, you know, like, I know her mom is a big advocate for natural birth, no epidural, because she did all 4 kids without it, and so on and so forth. I feel like a lot of older Mexican women are. But I was like, babe, you already did it. Maybe there's something. In my head, I was like, maybe there's something else. Like, te tapaste, like your cervix wasn't flushing out or whatever. I don't know any of the medical terms, but I was like, maybe there's something that the doctors have to look for more closely or something. Just get the epidural. Just get it over with.
Yeah. And for me, in my head, I think that having a natural birth, I have never been, or it's never been to look cool, to prove anyone that I'm strong, that I can do it. For me, it's always been the recovery. Like, I've talked to my mom. I've talked to many women that have had natural births and or like not natural, unmedicated births, and many women that have had births with an epidural. And the same thing always comes out, that recovery is harder and you get pains in the future. Like, your back hurts, or if something happens and it goes wrong. Like, I have a cousin, I think, that they moved her epidural or something. They didn't put it on right, and she almost was left paralyzed, you know? So for me, it was more, one, I know that the recovery is super smooth and easy when you don't get it. And 2, I'm terrified of getting it because of the needle. Like, I've seen videos of people getting it, and I was like, hell no, I cannot do that. That's crazy. So for me, it was never like, oh, it's to look cool. No, it was just because I knew that after she was out, it was going to be fine. Like, I was going to be out of pain, and that's what I thought. And then it wasn't fine. So basically, just picture me and The Exorcist, and that's basically what I was looking like. I was looking like The Exorcist on the hospital bed. Jonathan and my mom were actually terrified. My mom, I remember, so just to give you a little picture, I don't even know why I'm sharing this. This is so cringy to me now, but I'm laying on the bed and I'm getting a contraction, and I start just shaking my head side to side uncontrollably, super fast. And my mom literally puts her hand on my forehead and she's like, you need to relax, like, you need to breathe. And I was like, no, it's because this distracts me. She's like, oh, okay. Because my mom was over here thinking that, 1, I was getting possessed, or 2, I was going to pass out from all the force I was doing with my head, or that I was going to end up breaking my neck. And so I was like, no, it's because at that point I was squeezing my combs. I was doing anything in my power to not feel, or to distract myself from the pain that I was feeling, because it was insane. At this point, I was getting contractions back to back. I don't even think I was having a minute rest in between, and the pressure was just there. Like, the pressure never leaves. It's like a contraction comes and goes, but a pressure is always there. So imagine like the pressure of like a baby's head pushing on your cervix, and then a contraction on top of that, you know? So I was just doing anything I could to distract myself. And it's so funny because I remember Jonathan walking away from the bed, and I didn't think like, oh, why is he walking away? Like, I thought he was just, I don't know, he needed to get some fresh air. But after the labor, he tells me, he's like, what did you say?
I was just trying so hard not to crack up, guys. You know the times when your teacher tells you not to laugh and you have to bite your lips? That was me, and I bit my lips and I turned around because I just wanted to like laugh, because you were going like full exorcist mode, and I was like, not gonna lie, babe, like, that's like, obviously I could never, it hurts cuando tengo torzón, but I could see the nurse and your mom both like, okay, bro, like we're chill, you know, like chill. Yeah. Like, so as like women that they've both had babies, I knew that maybe they were like not judging you, but they're like, this is not necessary. Like, let's get back to work, you know? Babe, with a newborn and a toddler running around, who has time to cook healthy?
Not us, and that is why we love Factor.
Eating better is easy with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals.
You'll have over 35 different options to choose from every week, including Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. And there are more than 60 add-ons to help you stay fueled up and feeling good all day long.
No prep, no messy meals. Factor meals are ready to heat and eat, so there's no prepping, cooking, or cleanup needed.
I love Factor because it saves so much time. All I have to do is plop it into the microwave and my meal is ready to go.
Head to factormeals.com/spillthebeans50 and use code spillthebeans50 to get 50% off.
That's code spillthebeans50 at factormeals.com/spillthebeans50 to get 50% off.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Honestly, now that we have a baby and a toddler, I would love to have an extra hour a day because I feel like our days go by so fast, and I would honestly use that hour to take a nap.
Yeah, and I think I would use that hour to spend more time with you, honey.
Aw, that was sweet.
The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority.
Therapy can help you find what matters to you so you can do more of it.
I love therapy because personally, it just helps me put my thoughts in order. Sometimes I'm scrambling all around and I have no time for myself, and really talking to someone that is unbiased and just comprehensive really helps.
And I love therapy because when you're postpartum, you have so many mixed emotions that it is so nice to have someone outside of your home, outside of your family and friends to talk to.
If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule.
Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapist anytime for no additional charge.
Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/spillthebeans today to get 10% off your first month.
That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/spillthebeans. Yeah, and I think that it's just different because my mom, she told me that she's never felt contractions. Like, she's like, I've had cramps, but I never felt contractions.
I feel like giving birth in front of your mom is the hardest. Like, you have the most pressure, babe. Like,
yeah,
because she can't relate.
she can't. My mom is literally that girl. Like, when I tell her like about everything I was feeling, she's like, that's insane. Like, I've never felt that. Like, her births were really smooth, and so were my grandma's. And I like to think that my births are smooth, except that, yeah, at this point, like, I don't know. I think that it was. I don't think they were judging me, but my nurse had just had a baby 9 months ago, and she had the epidural, so she had a, like, obviously you don't feel any pain, so you don't know what it feels like. And my mom, well, she's never felt freaking contractions because she's just blessed in that way. So for me, I was like, I didn't even care. At this point, I was like, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I let the contractions take over me. And I remember I kept hearing the nurse, take control of your contractions, take control over the pain, you got this, you've been doing this. But at that point, I was so discouraged, so negative. Like, in my head, I was like, why is this happening? This should not be happening. I'm at 9.5, and I was stuck at 9.5 for almost an hour, I would say. And that sucks. Like, that's terrible. Those contractions, I could not compare to anything. It's insane. And I was just, yeah, maybe I was doing the most. I don't know. But if you've been through childbirth and you've done it without an epidural, you know that sometimes those contractions take over you. And unfortunately, my headspace was not in the right, it wasn't in the right mindset, because I was just letting it take over me and going full exorcist mode. And I didn't want to do it anymore. And I think that's when I really messed up, when I just got in the headspace of, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Because I was like, what are you going to do? Like, you're going to go home or something, you know? So yeah, I started getting really bad. And then I tell her again, I was like, okay, I think now, like, I cannot hold the urge to push. Like, I have to. She's like, okay. She's like, I'm going to go get the doctor to come check you, because I think she was like, okay, if she's telling me that, she's probably at a 10. She's going to push. Might as well get the doctor to check her so that we could just move forward. So this is where the doctor comes in, guys. And let me start off by saying when we got there, we asked permission to record. My nurse was like, you know what? It all depends on the providers. I don't think that they're going to let you, but we can check. And I told her, well, actually, I recorded my first labor and delivery and everybody was fine with it. She's like, okay, we'll check. She comes back in. She says, unfortunately, the provider today does not want you to, or she's not comfortable being on camera. She would like for you not to record while everyone's in here, but as soon as the baby's on your chest, you can start recording and that's fine. So I didn't even get mad about it. I was like, okay, cool, we won't record. So then I hadn't met the doctor prior to this. So then she's like, okay, I'm gonna get the doctor. The doctor comes in. She's like, hi, I'm Dr. blah blah blah, and I'm going to check you. I'm like, okay. And at this point, again, just picture me, negative mindset. I was super down bad at the house. I wanted to just start pushing right there and then. And the doctor comes in, she checks me, or she tries to check me. So basically, the whole time, my nurse was so nice. And this is just how every nurse is, or every provider, even when I go get like my cervical exams or like my yearly checkups and they do your cervical swab or whatever. They're like, okay, these are my fingers. You're going to feel my touch. You're going to feel pressure. Here's me going in. They guide you through them entering your friggin' vagina because that's weird, you know, like it's weird, a weird sensation. She doesn't say anything, girl. She just goes in and she starts like, I don't know, like scraping. I don't know. To the point that I remember I grabbed her, or not grabbed her, but I pushed her arm away and I was like, no, like I literally told her no. And she like got taken aback a little bit. And I just remember she like takes her glove off and she sets it down. She's like, okay, well, if you're not going to let me check you, I'm not going to let you push. And but like in giving me attitude, and I'm like, girl, I am going through a traumatic time right now, and the least you can do is be kind and tell me like, here I'm gonna go in, here I'm gonna go. And so I literally look at my nurse and I'm like, why is she so rough? And my nurse was like, I am so sorry, like apologizing for the doctor. The doctor did not care. She like just got up and left. And yeah, she's like, if you're not going to let me check you, I'm not going to let you push. So then there I was discouraged again. But at that point, when they checked me for Franco, when I was 10 centimeters, I remember my nurse, her hand slid right in. Like she didn't have to do anything. And she was like, oh, you're at 10, let's go. And when the doctor was trying to check me, I remember I felt her kind of struggle to get in. So I was like, hell no, like they're still there. I know that I'm not at a 10. So I was like, okay, here I go again. So I probably went for like another 10 minutes after she checked me, going crazy. My nurse was like, at this point, she's like, let's get you on all fours. We're going to get you on top of this peanut ball. Like just go back and forth. I was doing that. I was stabbing my freaking combs onto the bed. I was literally hitting the bed. I was doing everything I could to just distract myself. And then I was like, okay, like I started feeling the urge to just like go to the bathroom, and I was like, no, this is it, this has to be it, this is the one. And I remember telling her, hey, like I need to push for sure now. And she was like, okay, do you want me to get the charge nurse to come check you? And I was like, yes, please, like I do not want to see that doctor again. And so the charge nurse came in, and by the grace of God, I felt her hand slip in, and she was like, oh, the baby's much slower. Oh, you're at a 10. We're ready to push. That's the best thing I've heard all day, girl. I was like, please. Before, like, she's like, okay, I'm going to start laying you back a little bit. Like, they were trying to get everything ready, and I was already, like, pushing. Like, I was already getting ready to start pushing. And so, basically, I started pushing. The doctor came in. No, I didn't start pushing. They were getting everything ready. And the doctor walks in, and she's like, okay, let's check you. I think you're ready to push. And then my nurse was like, I forgot what the charge nurse name, but she said, the charge nurse already checked her. She's at a 10. She's like, oh, okay. You know, like just telling her like, you don't need to check her again, girl. She's ready. And yeah, I guess the doctors don't really do much. I don't remember. I remember Dr. Finnegan being like super on like hands on, but the doctor was just kind of like in the background, just overlooking everything. But my nurse was the one that was like coaching me through the pushes, and then the one that caught her. And so yeah, they're like, okay, take a deep breath. And I was already pushing. I pushed, what was it, 3 times?
I think 2, babe.
2. I pushed 2 or 3 times, and she was out. And it was so funny because in the video I heard them saying, okay, take a deep breath. And hell no, I did not stop pushing. I just kept going because I was like, I don't care if a contraction's coming. If it's not, I'm pushing. And I've actually heard that if you don't push with a contraction, that it causes you to rip. So I'm like, at that point, I didn't care. I was like, if I rip, if I don't rip, I don't care. She's coming out right now. And so, yeah, she came out. It was probably the best feeling all day because it's just such a feeling of relief. And I remember going back to my first birth when I felt Franco come out and they put him on my chest. Everything was smooth. Like, I ripped. My doctor was so kind. He was so patient. I didn't even feel when he numbed me up, and I did not feel when he was sewing me up either. And so I was like, no, after she's out, like, everything's just calm, peaceful. My adrenaline is going to be high. I'm not going to feel when they're stitching me up. And I remember asking her, I was like, did I rip? She's like, well, I still need to check. And she goes to check me if I ripped, the doctor. And oh my God, she literally is grabbing me down there like if I was a freaking, I don't know, a toy or something. Like, she has no regard. She doesn't tell me like, here's my touch, here's the nothing. She doesn't get me through anything. She just goes and like basically like starts spreading me open. I know it sounds so much, it's TMI, but like super rough. And I literally keep telling her, ow, that hurts, ow, that hurts. She's like, okay, I have to numb you, I have to do this. And basically like the tension, there was so much tension in the room because you could tell that the nurses were mad at the doctor. The doctor didn't treat the nurses right, and the nurses knew that I was mad at the doctor. Like, I didn't want her to be there. And so one of the nurses there that checked me, and she was so nice too, she tells the doctor like, well, don't you think that you should put the little rails up to put her legs on there? And then the doctor's like, oh, okay, yeah, we could do that. So I'm like, you're not even like, you don't even have me in a position where you can see that I ripped and when you can comfortably sew me up. That was one. And two, she injects me with lidocaine, which I didn't even feel it. And then she starts sewing me up. And I remember when Jonathan told me, he's like, this is how she looked when she was sewing you up. Can you show them, babe, how she looked?
Oh, like, you know when you're like leaning over something and you're like, but only your like torso leans over? Because obviously her legs and the bed were there. And like, I remember Dr. Finnegan like clearly put up her legs, and then kind of like in the middle between her legs, the bed space there, he like took that off.
Yeah.
Or like folded it. So then he sat on his little chair, the little squiggly one we always play with as a kid. And it says do not touch, but we still do. And then he sits and he got up close, like right in front of her, and then started stitching her up like as he should, like in a comfortable position. The doctor was literally like, if you were leaning over a counter with her arms out trying to stitch, like with no support. And I was like, what the hell? That doesn't look wrong. But while this is all happening, guys, I have like a true, like, I have such an admiration for doctors, you would say, like the good doctor. Like, I think doctors are real life superheroes, and I have a lot of respect for them. But this doctor, man, she was making it hard. Like, I was trying to be super patient. I kept reminding Blanca, I was like, babe, she's just doing her job, this and that, this and that. I was like, she's almost done. But I'm in my head, I was furious, you know.
Yeah.
And but then again, like, I was like, what if we tell her that because the nurses did everything but stitch her. So I was scared. What if she's like, if I tell her something, I'm like, stop touching her. Can we get someone else? And what if she's like, well, I'm the only person here that can do this.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm like, in the whole ass hospital, there's only one person that can stitch. Like, hell no, you know? But by then, like, the nurses were already on her ass too. So
yeah. And so, yeah, basically when she's trying to stitch me up, I can feel her, like, first of all, I can feel that she's still trying to spread me open. And second of all, I can feel her like really tugging. So she was like, if you feel pain, let me know, but you're going to feel me tugging at it. So I just kept telling her like, ouch, that hurts. Ow, that hurts. And she was like, okay, like I'm going to put more lidocaine. And after she put lidocaine, I was like, it still hurts. Like, I was being very verbal because I was like, how am I going through this after when I'm supposed to just be in pure bliss, like admiring my baby on my chest. And so I keep telling her that it hurts. So at that point she's like, okay, can you guys bring in the gas? I forgot what it's called. It's like the
nitro,
the laughing gas that they usually call like at the dentist or something. And they bring it in, and my nurse tells her we tried it for her contractions, it didn't help her at all. And she's like, no, we'll just try it, put it on her. And I was like, I don't want it. Like, it didn't do anything for me in the contractions, it's not gonna do anything for me now. And so then I keep telling her that it hurts, so she tells my nurse, she's like, you know what, bring the fentanyl. And I remember hearing that word and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. This is labor and delivery, girl. I do not need no fentanyl. And she was like, no, just bring it in and put it on her, because obviously, like, I can't control the pain. And I just I remember I have it on video. One of the nurses was like, well, if she's feeling pain, don't you think you should just put more lidocaine on? And she's like, I did. She's like, I usually put 5 milliliters and I've already put 20, but if she wants more, I can do more. I'm like, why are you talking like this? Like, why can't you just, I don't know, like, she just didn't have a good, like, it felt like she didn't want to be there, period.
I feel like doctors, I know your job is just to do the physical stuff, but yeah. I feel like being the human side of it comes along with it. If you don't want the human side of it, then go be a vet. You know, you don't have to talk to dogs, or you don't have to talk to horses. Then go do that. Like, you, like it or not, you have a responsibility to make the patient feel better or talk nicely, you know. And if you don't want to be there, then why are you there? Yeah,
or if you don't want to talk, like, just don't talk. Like, don't say anything, you know, if you're having a bad day. But at this point, I think that the anger kind of took over me, and it was like anger mixed with, I was still feeling it. And just the thought, like, can you imagine, babe, that your dick is sliced open and then they're stitching it up, but while they're doing it, they're being so rough about it. So I was like, this is my experience. And I was like, and in my head, I'm thinking, if she doesn't want to be here, what if she stitches me up wrong? What if she does something, it doesn't leave me right? What, you know, like, what if I see something in the future from this, you know? And so it was all of those emotions that I was still feeling super bad. I was still feeling pain. She put, I don't know how much lidocaine in there. And then on top of that, they brought in the fentanyl. And I remember looking at Jonathan, and he's like, if you need it, like, take it. Like, if you're feeling pain, just take it, babe. But I was like, what the hell? Like, why would I take it, you know? And at that point, they're just like, the charge nurse comes over to me. She's like, hey, just to let you know, if you take the fentanyl, it's not going to affect you. You are still going to be able to breastfeed. Everything's going to be fine. So I'm still feeling pain. I'm still going through it. And so I'm like, okay, like, fuck it. Inject it. Like, give me the fentanyl. And so they start putting some down my IV. And the doctor looks at me and she's like, you're going to start feeling loopy here soon. Like, it's going to be okay. I did not feel loopy. I didn't feel anything. And I think that at this point, it was just my mind taking over everything. And I was so angry, and I was so stuck on feeling the pain, that I was just like, nothing was going to help me. Like, no one was going to get me out of that headspace. And at that point, I started, like, I was crying, one, because it hurt, but two, because I was like, I cannot believe you just robbed me of, like, this experience, you know? Like, this should have been, like, I don't know, like, Jonathan kept telling me, like, oh my God, she looks just like Franco. Oh my God, her eyes are open. Oh my God, babe, look, this. And I couldn't even take that in, because I was just so focused on what was going down there, and on this doctor that was doing such a bad job at being a doctor. And I think it just all comes to show, or I think it all goes to say that I had a really, really phenomenal experience with my first doctor, that I shouldn't have gone in there with many expectations, but I didn't think that after the labor, after pushing, it was going to be like that, you know? All right, babe, now that I'm postpartum, I absolutely need something that controls my temperature at night, and that is why I love Cozy Earth's bedding.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I've been sleeping way better ever since we started using Cozy Earth's bed sheets.
Cozy Earth crafts luxury goods that transform your lifestyle.
A true test of its quality has been that Cozy Earth has been featured on Oprah's Favorite Things 5 years in a row.
I love Cozy Earth because it makes me so excited to go to bed at night.
And I love Cozy Earth because with a newborn, I haven't been getting the best sleep, but Cozy Earth just makes things 10 times better.
Cozy Earth provided an exclusive offer for our listeners today, up to 35% off site-wide when you use the code SPILLTHEBEANS at www.cozyearth.com.
That's up to 35% off when you use the code SPILLTHEBEANS. I'm not the one that, like, I hate pulling the right race card, but when you do, like, it has, like, when it makes sense, you have to, guys. And we learned this on the Pampers trip that we went to not too long ago in Ohio. I had already known this fact, but I know that Blanca and a lot of people were taken back by it, but the mortality rate, both with the women and babies in the African American community in the United States, is absurd compared to a white woman. Like, I think it's 33% over. It's something ridiculous, guys, at the rate that black women in labor die compared to white women in the United States. And it's like, obviously in black, they used the specific race they used was African American, but you know, if we throw all other ethnicities and they're colored people, it's like, damn, like, you know, was she just being like having a bad day, or was there something more to this? Was she like being, I don't know, like, I hate using the word, but was she being like racist and stuff like that? Because I was like, is she like this with all her patients, everyone else on the floor that was white, you know? Because Colorado is a predominantly white state, as many of you guys know, especially where we live. And it's just, it gets your like head rolling, you know. I've always been like, I've taken a lot of classes in college where they kind of like want to force the race on you, and like, you know, it's okay to, but like, I've always been kind of like reserved about it. I don't like to make myself the victim or anything like that. But you can't ignore cases like this, especially when we just learned that colored women die at a crazy more rate, or complications or stuff like that. So it's like, why are you being so mean to her, to us, you know? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I think that you could just feel the tension in the room. Like, even the nurses, like, she was even being mean to the nurses, and then they were being kind of giving her attitude back. And I didn't even say this, but after she came out, you guys know how you have to give birth to the placenta too. And I remember, like, with that, you literally just have to do a tiny push and it comes out on its own. And she literally just went up to my stomach and started pushing on it. And I was like, what are you doing? She's like, well, we need to get the placenta out. And I'm like, Miss Girl, like, all you have to tell me is just give me a little push and the placenta's gonna come out. And so she stopped pushing on my stomach, and I just, like, I think I gave like a little push, and she just pulled the umbilical cord and it came out. I was like, what, like, why? I don't know. Like, one, I think that she was kind of just rushing too. Like, she was like, all right, let's get this over with. I have another birth to get to. Or I don't know what her deal was, but basically, all I have to say is that I had a really, really bad experience with the doctor this time. And to the point that I told Jonathan, I was like, I never want to be a Karen, right? I never want to be like, I need to speak to your manager. I need to leave a bad review. But with this, I'm like, this is something that I understand that it was just a normal day for her. It's just her job. She's going to give birth, or she's going to help deliver like 10 babies in a day, and it's just normal for her. But I was like, this is personally like something super special to me, you know? And it's like, I don't know, like I was just really, really sad and really angry. And I was like, if I could have just had a nicer doctor, I think that I wouldn't have gone through all that trauma. Because I remember when we went into the recovery room and my nurse was changing shifts with the night nurse, she was like giving her my updates, and then she's like, she just had a second degree tear, which is super normal. She's like, she just had a second degree tear, but in the sewing process there was a lot of trauma done down there, so she's very swollen. And when I hear those words, I'm like, so it shouldn't have been like this. Like, it could have just been an easy sewing up and there would have been no trauma. And if you guys know what it feels like when it's swollen down there, it does not feel nice. It does not feel nice that every other hour I have to be putting an ice pack down there. Like, you know, it was a lot. So I had a really tough time, like, coming to terms with that. Like, when I was already in the recovery room, I was like, why did it have to be like that? And then at night, we have a really amazing baby. She sleeps so much. So if I wanted to, I could have gone to sleep and gotten such good rest that night. But every time I would close my eyes, I would just remember, like, one, the feeling, and then the doctor's face. And I didn't want to go to sleep because I didn't want to think about it. And I'm like, this sucks, you know, like, why do I have to be going through this? There was no reason to it. And then I started thinking to myself, like, was it me? Like, I don't know, did I have something to do with it? Maybe I was looking at it the wrong way. Maybe she was just having a bad day, whatever. So then nothing, like, for me, nothing was really confirmed, because it's not like my nurses were like, no, she's usually not like that, or no, she shouldn't have been so mean or rough. But then the next morning, it's like 5 a.m. and I'm finally in like a super deep sleep, and you're taking care of the baby, and then she comes in, doesn't she?
Yeah, so she comes in, and I thought it was just one of the nurses, right? And it's her, and she walks in. I'm like, that's weird, you know? So then she comes up to me, and Blanca's sleeping, and she like comes up to me and right away puts like her arm like on my arm, her hand on my arm, and her eyes are like starting to like water. And I don't know, I'm really like you can tell right away that like she wants to cry. And I feel like if I would have pushed it even a little bit, she would have started bawling. Like that's how on edge she was. And then she starts just apologizing. She's like, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to come in and apologize to both you and Blanca. Like, I just wanted, she said these exact words. She's like, I just wanted to let you know that that wasn't me. That's not usually how I operate, something like that. And I just wanted to come in and apologize to you. And she's like, I really want to wake her up, but obviously she assumed like she maybe didn't sleep all night. So she's like, I'm going to let her rest. But if you guys are still here before I leave this afternoon or by noon, I'm going to stop in again and talk to her. But I just really want, and she was like, I wasn't saying much like to validate or like, oh, it's okay. No, I wasn't saying anything. So she started getting like more worried because she saw that my reaction wasn't like, it's okay. It all happened, you know? I was just like, okay. And then she started getting more worried, and she was like, really, really, like, I'm so sorry. But she's just apologizing. And then finally I'm like, oh, it's okay. You know, it's your job or whatever. And then, yeah, she's like, but please let her know that I came in and I tried talking to her, but she's sleeping and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So then I tell her in the morning that she came in.
I was shook. He's like, oh, guess who came in this morning? And I was like, who? He's like, the doctor. And she apologized. I was like, what? I'm like, thank God I was asleep, because one, I hate confrontation, but two, like, I don't know what I would have met her with, because like, I don't know. I could have been mean, or I could have been like, for me, knowing how I am, I would have been like, oh, it's totally fine. Like, don't worry about it. But I know that that's not what I wanted to say. Like, I would have been like, I don't know, like in my perfect world, I would have told her like, that's not like you stole this, journey from me. I don't know, whatever. But I knew I was, my people pleaser in me would have been like, oh, it's totally fine, girl. No worries. So I'm glad I wasn't awake, because I wouldn't have done good in that confrontation there. But basically, yeah. So then, it's so funny because I uploaded my labor and delivery vlog, and this girl commented on it, and she said, that's so weird that the doctor didn't let you record your labor and delivery when she doesn't have to be in it. She's like, that gives me fishy vibes. Maybe she like didn't want you to record something that she was gonna say or do, And so then I like commented back. I was like, it's funny that you say that, because my labor and delivery experience this time was so hard because of my doctor,
Yeah.
So yeah, like we have everything on camera and
yeah, we don't want to be like Karens, but
yeah,
when you learn about these statistics about like African American women dying and getting treated poorly, and colored people, and it's like, maybe we should do something about it. I would hate to ruin someone's career, someone that's worked so hard, but also you never know how many more people we can help or prevent doing this from.
Yeah.
Doctors, they're not above the law or above anything. And if they have to get slapped on the wrist or get like, they should be held accountable for it, and it does give fishy vibes that like all the doctors were okay with it. The nurses were okay with it. Dr. Finnegan, our first doctor, was a blessing. That's the thing Blanca says, he was a guy. Like, he doesn't have a vagina. He hasn't given birth, yet he knew how to treat you better than the girl that obviously was in the third age or mid. So she's probably had a kid. So she probably knows how it feels. And it's just crazy. Like, and yeah, she gave like really bad vibes off guys. Like she just looked like, I don't know. She just looked racist. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah.
Yeah. And then on top of that is that every single nurse that would come in, well, not every single nurse, but there was like one of them. I can't remember what she was, because she wasn't my nurse. I think she was a charge nurse of the next day. She's like, oh, how are you doing? How was your labor? How was this? Whatever. And then she's like, was everything okay? Like, is there anything that I could tell the nurses that they could do better? Is there anything that we could have done better to make your experience better? And I was like, oh no, I guess not. And she's like, well, are you sure? Like maybe something that we can work on. And I'm like, what? Like I no one's ever asked me this. Like no nurse has ever come in and asked me like,
And it was
oh,
a couple. Even the lactation nurse
Oh,
was a
yeah.
little like weird about it, you know? And then this was all before, well, the lactation nurse was after, but the two nurses asking specifically how it went and like giving, like almost like you can say it, like it's
Like,
okay.
tell
like,
us,
But
yeah.
we're so like non like Karen, I guess. Like I hate repeat girls that are named Karen, but it's become an adjective now and a noun. It's like we're so anti-Karening that like we didn't want to snitch on the doctor, but like you could tell that they knew something
Yeah.
was up. Like, are you sure there's nothing you want to tell us? Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And we were just like, like we even looked at each other, paused, and you could tell that the nurse looked at like she was experiencing all of this, but
Yeah.
then we said no, everything was fine. But then we made sure to specify the nurses were phenomenal.
Yeah.
We never said doctor was great or anything like that, but
Yeah, and she said something, and then we were like, or Jonathan was like, oh, it's because honestly, nothing can top off our first experience. Like, Dr. Finnegan was amazing. And then she was like, oh, yeah, he's amazing. Like, you know, so kind of just like throwing indirectas, like, nurses were amazing. Dr. Finnegan was amazing. What's the common denominator? The doctors sucked. But yeah, I was like, I hope, and it's crazy because during my pregnancy, I saw a lot of doctors, but I never saw her. So I was like, funny enough, I get the one person I didn't meet during my pregnancy to deliver my baby, and it was a freaking mess.
yeah, but we're over it, guys. We're not over it, but like we're over delivery. We
Like
have our baby girl here.
And I would do it
She's-
1,000 times again.
She's honestly perfect, guys. I
Yes.
cannot stress enough. Obviously, I was a firstborn and a male at that, and I can totally relate to like what maybe we're experiencing, like in the sense that Franco, it was just all tougher, both on our relationship, on me not knowing how to be like a good dad, quote unquote. I just didn't know what to do. So now, like, our baby girl gets not the special treatment, but just better treatment, especially
Yeah.
from her dad.
She
me.
gets a better version of us.
Yeah. But she makes it so easy, guys. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, yeah, she's perfect. I
Yeah,
love
it's so
her
funny.
much.
When I was in the thick of my labor and delivery, I literally kept thinking, Jonathan is getting a vasectomy tomorrow. I'm never going through this shit again. Like, this is the last time I ever put myself through this. And then now I'm like, I would do it again. Like, just
Yeah.
because, I don't know, like, babies are precious, but, and I know it might be biased because she's my daughter or whatever, but she's literally, I don't know, she's perfect. And I would not mind having 2 more of these.
Yeah,
know?
but like I say, maybe it's a trap, or maybe we always tell each other this. I was like, babe, you think Belen is catfishing us?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, maybe.
Like, you know, maybe in a week or two she's gonna go crazy. But so far, guys, she's breaking all the stereotypes. All the second kid are crazier, girls are crazier, blah 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 blah. She is an angel. She lets Blanca sleep. And like, you haven't been getting good sleep these past few days, but I tell her, I was like, you know, quote, se está portando mal. Like, is she up crying? She's like, no, she's just, her eyes are open and
She's
she's
just
up.
awake.
But she's just chilling up. Like, she's not crying or anything. But Blanca obviously can't go to sleep and stuff like that. And yeah, like the first few days, honestly, we tried like the whole switching. So
The shifts.
we would switch around 3 a.m. and that's when I would come in and then hold her. Take in mind, I do Franco's like nighttime routine and I put him to sleep. And then at 3 in the morning, so I sleep from like 9ish, 10 to 3 in the morning, and then we switch. So then she can sleep from like 3 to like 6 or 5 for
Until
before.
she's due to eat.
Yeah, or before your boobs get too swollen and stuff. So then, but then we could notice that like, yeah, we're up and we switch shifts, but she's asleep. Like, she's not up or being crazy or crying, you know? So we're like, babe, if you just co-sleep and put her next to you and sleep, like I'm confident enough to tell her this because she's a very light sleeper. It's not like me where a train can run me over and I'm still sleeping. So I feel comfortable telling my wife that. I was like, babe, if you co-sleep on the same bed, we can both sleep. How does that sound? So then she tried it finally one day and I stayed all night. Well, she tried it without telling me because I woke up by myself randomly like at 5 in the morning and I looked at my phone and it said 5 and I was like, oh shoot, like she didn't wake me up at 3. So I kind of felt bad, but I was too sleepy, so I didn't get up.
Fuck
So,
yeah, I'm gonna go back
but
to
in my
sleep.
head, I was like, oh, she tried the co-sleeping. Like, that's
Yeah.
why. Sure enough, in the morning, she's like, yep, I put her, and she slept next
Yeah,
to me.
I think that this time around, I'm just more nervous. Like the whole like sleeping and the suffocating and like everything, which granted, when you hear about co-sleeping, and to each their own, I'm not talking about my sleeping schedule or how I do things with my daughter to get opinions. I decided to co-sleep, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not telling you guys this so that you guys can tell me like, oh, it's bad, it's this. You do with your babies what you want. This is what we're doing with ours. I was super like, no, this time she's going to have a chupon. She's going to take bottles. She's going to sleep in her bassinet. Like, I'm going to do everything right, the way that the United States wants you to do it. And I tried, and it just, like, why? And I remember telling Jonathan, so when she was a newborn, when she had just been born at the hospital, she ended up throwing up mucus. And I called the nurse right away, and I was like, what is this? Like, why did she do this? And she just explained that since she was in the birth canal for such a short amount of time, because she's like, how long did you push for? And I was like, she was on like 2 to 3 pushes. She's like, okay, so when babies are in the birth canal for a long time, it usually squeezes everything out of them. So like the mucus, they throw everything like while they're being born. Since she wasn't in there long enough, she didn't get that, so now she's going to be spitting it up for the next couple of days, and it's completely normal. So that was my fear, that she would be laying down and I could hear her like kind of start struggling, so I would have to pick her up and burp her so that she could spit it out. And I kept telling Jonathan that, and then he's like, babe, if you lay her down in her bassinet, wouldn't it take you longer to get up out of bed, pick her up, and then burp her, rather than if she's laying right next to you and you hear the first time she's gagging and then you burp her? And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why I didn't think about that before. Everything in my brain was foggy. So yeah, that night, I think it was night 3 probably, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to trust myself. I'm going to trust all the research that says that exclusively breastfeeding moms have really light sleep because of their hormone. And as soon as the baby moves, like something shoots up in their brain and they wake up. And so I'm just gonna trust it, and I'm gonna go for it. And sure enough, she literally, like, to the point that I had to wake her up. So now my night routine is I have an alarm every 2 hours. So every 2 hours I wake her up, I change her, I let her cry a little bit, because if I don't let her cry a little bit, she doesn't fully wake up to eat. And and then I feed her, and then we go to sleep for another 2 hours, and then we do it again. And I've just been thriving, girl. And yeah, these last couple of days I haven't been getting good sleep because she wakes up and just like stays up. But that's it. Like, it's not like she's crying or like I'm trying to figure out what's wrong or trying to figure out what to give her. Like, I just have to wait until she's really sleepy, and then I feed her, and then she goes to sleep. And we're just kind of thriving over here, guys. Honestly, the transition hasn't been too hard. It's been a big change, and it feels like, I feel like, don't you feel kind of distant? Like, it's like we're kind of like distant, me and you.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not hard.
No.
We're not on bad terms. No. You know, it's not affecting our relationship.
No, and we'll come back to like normal.
Yeah, and it's like she's literally a week old. Like, just give her until she's a little bit older, until we're able to like slowly start transition Jonathan out of Franco's room. You know, like, just give it time, and everything's gonna be okay. But other than that, like, Franco is phenomenal with her. He's a toddler. He obviously doesn't know his strength. He doesn't know like his surroundings. So we just have to be super careful when he's around her. But he's kind.
But he's learned
gentle.
so much. The first hour we came home, he was just poking her and like not being like mean, but just like not knowing his strength.
Like, it was like a new toy for him.
And now a week later, he knows like she's more fragile. He'll like pet her with like the outside of his hand, and
or he like
holds her.
What is it? Eskimo kisses with
yeah,
the nose. He like Eskimo kisses her, and when he kisses her, he like kisses her, but he doesn't touch her face, which like we've never told him not to touch her, but he like kind of just kisses her before he gets to touch her face, and then he's like, okay. And anytime he asks me to hold her, I let him. Like, I don't want to be like, no, you can't hold her. I let him hold her, and he holds her for like 2 seconds, and he's like, all done, you know. Mm-hmm. So he's just been amazing with her. He's super independent. Like, he can play by himself for hours, which it's nice in a sense, but for me, I still feel bad. It's the mom guilt, you know. So I think that the hardest thing right now for me is mom guilt. Like, just, I remember I heard Jonathan making a snowman with him outside, and I was like, oh my God, I wish I was out there with them, you know? Yeah. And it's just that, but at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful that we have such a supportive village. Like, just having Jonathan home and knowing that Franco's okay with him, knowing that he sleeps with him, knowing that Jonathan does his bedtime, like his dad is there for him, rather than you having to work, me not having my mom, and then I was here by myself, like trying to entertain him and like take care of a baby, you know? So we're just super blessed, and we cannot stress that enough, you know? We're super thankful for this new journey we're on.
The only thing I would say, if I had to be devil's advocate and like pick something out that I don't necessarily like so much, is being so distant from you guys. I feel like we are enjoying our baby so much, but with that, like, it's one or the other. Yeah. I feel like you can't, like, I can stare into Belen's face eyes like forever, but then it's like, oh shoot, like I haven't posted on Instagram for 2 days, or I haven't done this. And it's like with Franco, I remember it was like a good balance of both, like more Instagram stories, more on top of it.
But I think it's because like when you're staring into her eyes, I'm playing with Franco, and when I'm with her, you're with Franco. So you don't have time to be like, oh, let me post an Instagram story. It's because now, like, we don't have, oh, here, you take her and I'm gonna work, or I take her. No, it's
but
like,
I feel guilt like for her, like I'm not posting her as much as I did Franco, but it's not like I like, I'm enjoying her way more than I did Franco, because I'm like a little bit better with her, and she's so good.
You're more
like,
hands-on.
More hands-on, that's the word. And like, I don't know, I don't remember holding Franco this much.
You didn't.
I was more like, okay,
you were taking
clean,
care of everything, this,
and then that. Franco a few times there or on the bed, but like her, like I'll fall asleep watching TV with her. I hold her every time, and it's like, it's crazy. Like, I'm trying to be not so like, whenever her sisters or mom hold her, I have this urge to like hold her, and I'm like, no, like you have to share her. Like, I don't want to make anyone feel bad, but I'm like, whenever her mom comes down the stairs with her, I right away stick my arms out, and because I'm like, oh, you're like, I don't, you know, but yeah.
I don't know, guys. She's just perfect, and we're so excited to just share everything about her. Like, we have 24 hours of the newborn, like vlogs coming here and there, but I think it's just like the first week where you know want to get out her name and like be super special about it, you know. But yeah, just keep an eye out for all of that, because that's coming too.
Yeah, guys. But without further ado, happy Friday. Hope you guys are having a great week. A lot of you guys are probably at the end of your spring break,
or you're about to start it, because a lot of districts are about to start it too.
Yeah, but we love you. We appreciate you. Blanca is out of quarantine for almost, so we might have a new studio next time. Or
no, I'm not, my boy. I have 5 more weeks to go.
Well, this is going up on Friday, and then the
4
next
weeks.
No, but definitely not in next week. So maybe in like, yeah, whatever, guys. The studio will be done when it's done. It's coming.
If you guys want to see like a behind the scenes, follow us on all of our socials, because we're gonna vlog TikTok, Instagram story of
Snapchat.
us, or Snapchat it. Everything coming together, coming to life in real time, and then you guys will have the big reveal as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, we hope you're doing good. Thank you so much for all the love and support and all the sweet messages. You guys are amazing, and we're so thankful for you. Without you, we would not be here, and we will never get tired of saying that. Thank you for all your sweet wishes for our perfect baby girl, and for all your kind words. We love you. And oh yeah, we'll do this on the next podcast, but we'll announce who is the winner or who guessed her name right, because I have a screenshot of that too.
Okay, guys. See you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Later.
Yay Networks.